You probably think you know what gambling is. A casino, a poker table, someone losing money they shouldn't have spent. A problem for people with bad impulse control. Maybe something fun on a Friday night if you're careful about it. But here's what the science actually says. Gambling isn't something that happens to you because of casinos. Casinos exist because of something that was already happening inside you. Something that was happening inside your ancestors 7,000 years ago. Something that kept the entire human species alive. In 2002, neuroscientist Montague at Baylor College of Medicine was studying dopamine, the chemical your brain releases when something good happens, and he found something that should have been front-page news. Your brain doesn't release dopamine when you get a reward, it releases it when you might get one, not the win, the maybe. Think about that for a second. Your brain is literally wired to find uncertainty more pleasurable than certainty. A guaranteed reward barely moves the needle. An uncertain one, a maybe, a possibly, a not yet, lights your brain up like nothing else. And this isn't a glitch. This isn't a bug in your system. This is the oldest feature you have. For hundreds of thousands of years, your ancestors lived inside radical uncertainty. Every hunt was a gamble. Every new territory was a risk. Every decision between two paths was a bet. And the people whose brains caught fire at that uncertainty, who kept trying when everything said stop, those were the survivors. The ones who found food, who made it through winters, who had children. You are here right now because your ancestors couldn't stop gambling, not despite it, because of it. Now here's where it gets strange. The oldest dice ever found, carved from bone, four-sided, deliberately made, come from burial sites in ancient Iran and Egypt, dated to 5000 BCE, 7,000 years ago, before writing, before any empire you've ever heard of. But that's not the strange part. The strange part is where archaeologists found them, not in markets, not in communal spaces, in graves. Someone 7,000 years ago loved gambling so much they wanted to take it with them into whatever came after death. They looked at those small carved cubes and thought, I'm going to need these. And when you read that, something in you recognizes it, not as history, as something familiar, as something you understand, without being able to explain why. Because you felt what those dice represented, that specific electric feeling of not knowing what comes next, of holding your breath for an outcome you can't control, of being completely alive. Inside one uncertain moment. You felt it the last time you were waiting for a result you cared about. A message back, a notification, a number on a screen. 7,000 years apart. Same feeling, same brain. But here's what nobody tells you about the history of gambling. Almost as old as the dice is the cheating. Archaeologists have found loaded dice, hollowed, weighted, shaped to land a specific way, in Roman settlements across the entire empire. Markets, military camps, bathhouses. Everywhere people gathered, someone was tilting the odds. The Romans had a word for it. Aliter, a cheating gambler, one of the worst insults you could receive. Not because gambling was shameful, because cheating at it was a betrayal of the one thing that made it real, the genuine uncertainty. And yet, everyone was doing it. Now be honest with yourself for a second. The last time you played any game at all, did you look for the angle? The small advantage? The thing you knew that the other person didn't? You didn't invent that. You inherited it. Across thousands of years of people doing exactly the same thing and calling it something different. In 1963, a mathematics professor named Edward Thorpe published a book called Beat the Dealer. He had actually solved blackjack. Using card counting, tracking which cards had already been played, he proved that a skilled player could consistently beat the house. Casinos panicked, changed the rules, added decks, hired people specifically to spot and remove anyone who was too good. Then, something nobody predicted happened. Casino profits went up. Millions of people read the book, understood the system, walked in convinced they finally had the edge, and lost everything. Because here's what Thorpe couldn't fix. Knowing the mathematics of gambling and feeling the pull of it are two completely different things happening in two completely different parts of your brain. The rational part can read every statistic, can calculate the house edge, can understand exactly how much it expects to take from you per hour. And the ancient part, the part that's been chasing uncertain outcomes since before your species had a name, simply doesn't care. You can understand the trap perfectly, completely, in every detail, and still walk straight into it. That's not stupidity. That's not weakness. That's 300,000 years of wiring that kept your ancestors alive and now keeps the lights on in Las Vegas. And then there's the near miss. In 2009, researcher Luke Clark at the University of Cambridge studied what happens in your brain when you almost win. 2 jackpot symbols, third one stops short. So close. His finding, near misses activate the same reward circuits as actual wins. Your brain literally cannot tell the difference between almost winning and winning. Now think about the last time you posted something and kept checking whether anyone responded. The last time you watched someone's typing indicator appear, disappear, appear again. The last time you refreshed something for a reason you couldn't fully explain even to yourself. That's the near miss, running in your pocket 200 times a day. Your phone wasn't designed to help you. It was designed by people who understood Luke Clark's research better than you do, who understood that your brain, given an uncertain outcome and a lever to pull, will pull that lever until you make it stop. And making it stop is the hardest thing you'll ever do, because stopping feels like losing, and your brain hates losing more than it loves winning. Here's the full picture. 7,000 years ago, someone carved a bone into a cube and played against chance. They didn't know anything about dopamine. They just knew they couldn't stop. 2,000 years ago, an entire empire tried to regulate gambling and failed completely. Their soldiers were loading dice at military camps. Their emperors played. Their legal system was full of statutes nobody followed. 60 years ago, a mathematician proved the house could be beaten. The house got richer. Today, the gambling industry generates over $500 billion a year. Not because it invented a new desire, because it found one that was already ancient, already biological, already carved into the architecture of the brain you were born with. The casino didn't create your gambling instinct. It just found it, studied it, built a building around it, and lit the whole thing up so your ancient brain would feel at home. You were never playing against the house. You were playing against yourself. And the most disturbing part isn't that you lost. It's that part of you, the oldest part, enjoyed every second of it.